What's up, everybody? This is Fred Rachani of TSC News. Great to be back. We got a lot to discuss in the world of pro wrestling. First off, Monday Night Raw. Got a chance to watch it. Wasn't too hot on it. Didn't like the fact that Seth Rollins is being built up to possibly beat Sting and then feud with Triple H. Sure, on paper that looks like a phenomenal match. It's a feud that looks like it would make a ton of sense. But from what I understand, Triple H is still wrestling The Rock at WrestleMania. And Seth Rollins versus Triple H, to me, is a WrestleMania caliber match. And here's the other thing. This storyline, it seems like they're going in the direction of it, pretty much, Triple H versus Seth Rollins. I mean, hell, Sting was an afterthought, pretty much on Raw. It seems to me like they're going with Seth Rollins versus Triple H, and it seems to me it's going to lead to this dreaded, stuck in the past syndrome that WWE has been suffering from for years. Whether it be the WWE 2K16 cover with Steve Austin on it, of all people. And hey, Steve Austin's my all-time favorite wrestler, but I'm just saying, his day was over a decade ago, all right? You know, you factor in guys like, the Dudleys coming back, and you got Triple H and Stephanie still as the dominant star. Still got John Cena as the dominant star after 10 years. And it's like, look, I'm fine with stars from the past. And I actually have no problem with the Dudleys being back. That's cool. But I'm just saying there's a perception that WWE has perpetuated that states the current stars, outside of really John Cena, are not as big as the quote-unquote real stars from the 80s and the 90s. Triple H is a gigantic star. He's a legend. And if he goes up against Seth Rollins and they just do this thing where he's, more of a man than Seth, and God forbid he beats Seth, what does that do for Seth? Realistically speaking, what does this do for Seth? Some people might say, well, Fred, Triple H is in his mid-40s. He's an executive now. He's on the board of directors. What business does he have beating Seth Rollins? And that's a great question. He has no business beating Seth Rollins. But here is the problem. And I'm a Triple H fan. I respect the hell out of his body of work, especially lately with NXT. But think about this, all right? The last 5 years, he's been pretty much semi-retired. Outside of that brief period where Daniel Bryan caught fire, he didn't do the guy any favors. Randy Orton, his own guy, he didn't do him any favors because Randy Orton was playing second fiddle to the Authority back in 2013 and 2014. All right? Before that, you had the Brock Lesnar feud where Triple H inexplicably beat him twice. He beat him once. Okay, but he might as well have beaten him twice because he beat him at WrestleMania 29, which is preposterous. Now, Lesnar later got rehabbed because he beat The Undertaker and has gone on this incredible run, but still, at the time, very, very perplexing. So then, you go back to 2011, and he feuded with CM Punk, and CM Punk's talked about this. He beat CM Punk when CM Punk was hot, the hottest guy in the business. It made no sense. And it did neither guy, especially the guy that could have, drawn more money. It did that guy, CM Punk, no favors. So then, even before that, to a lesser extent, you had Sheamus in his early days in WWE. And what happened to Sheamus? He got his ass kicked by Triple H at WrestleMania 26, and then he got destroyed about a year later. And since then, nobody's ever been able to take Sheamus very seriously. I mean, he's had some decent runs, but yeah, that bloom was off the rose for a long time. My point is this. As great of a wrestler as Triple H is, as pretty damn good of a talent executive as he's been, particularly with NXT, he has been in positions to put over guys where it makes sense to put them over. Forget, him as an active wrestler back in the day. I don't want to go back and talk about stuff that happened 10 years ago. All right? I'm talking about recent history, the last 4 or 5 years, okay? With all due respect to Paul Levesque, okay, whether it's a Paul Levesque call, whether it's a Vince McMahon call, whether it's both, he's been put in position multiple times to put over certain guys and hasn't done it. All right, actually, here we go. Sting. How can I forget? There's no reason, especially now that Sting's challenging for the WWE title. There's no reason why Sting should have lost at WrestleMania 31. There's no reason. There's no reason. And for anybody that says, well, they had to protect Triple H because he's wrestling The Rock next year. Triple H is a legend. The Rock is a legend. Unless you have Curtis Axel pin both of these men clean with his bare hands, there's not much you could do to kill these guys' vibes. There's not much you could do to get these guys under, to quote-unquote bury them. These are legends, which means that they can afford a loss here and there. And look, Triple H lost to Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania 30. He was fine. Actually, I don't even think he won a match in 2014. He was fine. He didn't have to beat Sting. That was dumb. In my opinion, that was dumb. And it looks even dumber now. And so, based on recent history, and again, I don't know whose call it is. I'm not claiming he's a bad guy. I'm just saying, depending on what happens with Seth Rollins and Triple H, let's just say Triple H feuds with Seth before he wrestles The Rock, assuming that match is going to happen at WrestleMania. All right? And let's say Triple H pins Seth Rollins. What does that do for Triple H? Squadoosh. What does that do for Seth Rollins? Even less, because it perpetuates the idea that the stars from the Attitude Era, the Monday Night Wars, are bigger and better than any of the stars of the current generation, and that includes Seth Rollins. So look, if Seth beats Sting, goes on a feud with Triple H, that's great, but for the love of God, Seth has to come out on top. I'm all for Seth turning babyface. I'm perfectly fine with that. Even though I kind of like him as a heel despite his long, boring promos. He's actually a hell of a promo, but they just script him to go way too long. But I digress. This whole thing with Stephanie and Triple H and Seth, and you're not half the man Triple H is. Like, Jesus Christmas, stop. Ugh. So that brings us to Sting versus Seth Rollins for the WWE World title at Night of Champions. Personally, I wouldn't have Sting go 0-2 in WWE. So what you could do is have Sheamus cash in. And oh, by the way, spoiler alert, Sheamus inexplicably pins Cesaro on SmackDown, which is just stupid. I mean, it's not stupid that the Money in the Bank winner is protected. It's stupid that they're not protecting Cesaro, who also lost to Kevin Owens. So, you got Seth Rollins and Sting. I guess you could have Sheamus try to cash in the middle. What I would do is have Sheamus lose the Money in the Bank to a guy like, say, I don't know, Randy Orton, Kevin Owens, somebody that's actually over and relevant, that people actually care about, and then have them cash in the middle of the match. So that way Sting is protected. Or what you could do is have botched interference by the Authority, or dare I say, Kane interfere, have Sting win the world title, and then he can drop it in a month to John Cena or whoever. Or you could have Sting just chill with the belt at Hell in a Cell, do some grudge matches, since I don't really think there's a Hell in a Cell match you can do with Sting that makes sense, unless you want to do like an old school like 6-man Hell in a Cell from like Armageddon 2000, which I haven't done in 15 years. That'd be cool. But you could have Sting chill out, and then a Survivor Series, you could have Sting versus John Cena, dream match. Have John Cena win, get the 16th world title, beating the guy that Ric Flair helped make famous, and then, you can figure it out. Maybe Seth Rollins beats John Cena, or, somebody beats John Cena for the title, and yeah, away we go. And speaking of John Cena will be taking on Seth Rollins at Night of Champions as well for the United States Championship. So for any ROH fans keeping track, yes, WWE completely ripped off the Battle of the Belt storyline with Jay Lethal and Jay Briscoe, and they are completely ripping off the concept of ROH's upcoming pay-per-view, where Jay Lethal is actually defending not one belt, but 2 belts, the TV title and the world title. And, oh, by the way, we'll have an interview with Roderick Strong, the man who challenges Jay Lethal for a world title sometime this week. So overall with Raw, it was just a show. I hate the Divas stuff. They had the beat the clock challenge. Charlotte ended up winning. I think her time was like 140. Just brutal. Brutal instant promos, brutal dialogue, brutal matches. This Divas Revolution just sucks. This Team PCB, this Team Bad, this Team Bella. Ugh, God. Just I hate it. I hate it. Look, maybe when Sasha or whomever eventually wins the title from Nikki, it'll change and they'll just work more with each other. But I don't think it's going to change. I mean, look, Nikki Bella's going to stay on top for a while. Even if she's not champion. Look, she's at the end of the day, she's dating the top guy. And I actually like Nikki Bella. I respect her hustle, but she ain't as good as those NXT gals. Particularly Becky and Sasha. And Bayley. She ain't. And honestly, I wouldn't have put Charlotte in that match with Nikki Bella. I like Charlotte, but she's had a lot of botches. She's clearly rusty, or green, I should say. Even though she had some great matches in NXT. I would have put Sasha in that position, or Becky Lynch, but it is what it is. Now, as far as other news, Hulk Hogan went on Good Morning America and was crying and said, "Oh my gosh, can you stop the camera? I'm not a racist. I grew up using that word. We just used it for fun. We didn't know. Please forgive me. I'm a nice guy, brother. I'm suicidal." When you mentioned he was suicidal, he just lost me right there. Do I think Hulk Hogan should eventually get his job back in WWE? If he can help himself and stay out of the public eye, which he clearly can't, I'm fine with it. It was like a decade ago, 8-9 years ago when you said those words on that tape. Do I forgive him per se? I guess I'm just disappointed. I just find it sad. I'm kind of ashamed for him. And I liked Hulk Hogan. I was a fan of Hulk Hogan. But look, this guy made his own bed. I really don't have a lot of sympathy for him. Look, you suffer consequences, and I do feel bad that he had his privacy invaded. But if you keep doing stupid stuff, if you keep saying stupid things, if you keep making an ass out of yourself, whether it be publicly or privately, it's going to catch up with you. And I think in some ways he made an ass out of himself on national television. I did feel bad in a sense that this guy worked really hard, built this gigantic legacy only for it to just crumble in a heap, but he did it himself. And really, in my opinion, it's not really my place to say whether I forgive Hulk Hogan or not. Okay? If you're black, I think it is your place. If you're WWE or a company wants to do business with Hulk Hogan, I think that's your place to figure out whether you want to forgive Hulk Hogan or not, or decide to do business with him, or invest your money, invest your time, invest your fandom, whatever. And contrary to popular belief, okay, racial slurs can be offensive to people that aren't within that race as well. All right, because at the end of the day, they're just disgusting words, and that offend a lot of people. That have a negative connotation for a reason. And not just to insult somebody, but have a mean-spirited, god-awful history behind them. And the N-word is certainly one of them. And, Hulk did clearly state on the tape, I am a racist. Albeit probably sarcastically, but still. I'm torn. I don't know. Look, I hope the guy, succeeds in life. I don't wish anything bad on him. You know what I mean? He lost his job. He lost whatever endorsements he still had. He lost his dignity. He's made an ass out of himself, 10 times over. He's lost a lot of fans. He's the butt of a lot of jokes. So, has he paid the price? I think he's paid the price. I think he's paying the price. Would I bring him back right away? No. And if I'm him, look, he's his own man. He makes his own choices. He did say, this is Terry Bollea talking, even though I thought for 100% of the time it was Hulk Hogan, the worker, talking. He's his own man, but he really needs somebody. Maybe, one of his agents is Darren Prince. If you guys don't know who Darren Prince is, this dude freaking reps Magic Johnson. Look at how Magic Johnson conducts himself publicly. And look at how Hulk Hogan conducts himself publicly. I'm not blaming Mr. Prince here. Okay? But whether you're Darren Prince or whoever else reps Hulk Hogan, you got to get in this dude's ear and you got to say, mother effer, get off Twitter. Stop talking. Just chill out. Lay back. Let this thing die down. And knock on wood, eventually, they'll bring you back. Or you could get involved with another wrestling company and people will forgive you. Or at least maybe the majority of people, the majority of fans will forgive you. And he's already got a lot of fan support. I know people that are black, white, Hispanic, whatever, that still support Hulk Hogan. And if they do, that's fine. Okay, that's your prerogative. But in terms of Hulk Hogan being able to continue to make a living, right, being Hulk Hogan, and in wrestling, if I were him, I would just shut the hell up and lay low. So, yeah, but I don't have a whole lot of sympathy for him, but he is paying the price. At the end of the day, he is suffering the consequences. I don't blame him for trying to pull himself out of this mess. But there's different ways to do it. He could have just said, you know what, I apologize to anybody I offended, particularly in the black community. I know that word has a lot of history behind it and is terrible. I've been guilty of dropping it liberally, and I said this at my lowest point. This is not who I am. I'm deeply sorry. I apologize, and you know, just do that. But to go with the whole, I'm suicidal, like, especially when he mentioned that story about how Layla Ali convinced him not to commit suicide, and from what I understand, he's changed the story a number of times, and I don't know. That's just exploitive, of a real serious issue. Ugh. Whatever. Hulk, go away. Lay back. Fall back. And, hope for your sake everything works out. I don't think everything's going to work out for Mr. Jimmy Superfly Snuka, the WWE Hall of Famer. He was arrested. Yes, arrested on Tuesday. Well, technically he turned himself in. But he was charged. Over 30 years later, 32 years later to be exact. Let me get the exact details of this because there's a lot to go over here. He was charged with involuntary manslaughter and third-degree murder of his mistress/girlfriend Nancy Argentino from back in 1983. After all these years of the Argentino family trying to get Snuka charged, somehow he didn't get charged when he changed his story multiple times back in the day. When Argentino died of suspicious circumstances. I mean, traumatic head injury, cuts and bruises all over her body, was practically, allegedly left for dead on a hotel bed. I mean, my God. And Snuka just said, oh, well, she slipped and hit her head, or, oh, maybe I pushed her and she hit her head. I mean, what? I mean, it's ridiculous to think about in hindsight that this dude wasn't charged. I mean, perhaps it was some money. Perhaps it was his fame, probably a little bit of both. Maybe he got some help from WWE. But years later, a lot of the details were uncovered through journalist Irv Mushnick, who's also written extensively about Chris Benoit. And then ish really hit the fan with the Morning Call, a Lehigh Valley-based newspaper in Pennsylvania a couple years ago, did an in-depth story on the Nancy Argentino case and why it hasn't been solved, and why Jimmy Snuka was never charged, and yeah, it raised a lot of questions. Like, why did he keep changing his story? Why do you keep changing your story, dude? More questions. Why write about it in your book? More questions. How's this dude not on the hook when he apparently assaulted Argentino earlier that year? Why was this dude never further investigated when he allegedly beat his ex-wife multiple times? And oh yeah, his ex-wife apparently corroborated those allegations of domestic violence. Well, those are all good questions. And apparently nobody had answers. Until now. So Jimmy Superfly Snuka was held on a $100,000 bond. He posted bond. And, well, yeah, he's got a long road ahead. I'm no legal expert. I'm going to try to get on Irv Mushnick or some other journalists that were involved in the story as far as the research of it, or maybe even some legal analysts, or both, because this is a really interesting and a very disturbing way. I mean, seriously, 32 years. 32 years. If you ask me what I think about this case, for a guy to allegedly lie or change his story that many times, where there's smoke, there's fire. So I really don't have a lot of sympathy for him. I mean, it sucks. He's battling stomach cancer, and he's a legend, and he positively influenced a lot of people like Mick Foley. But look, if he committed this crime, I hope he does the time. A lot of shadiness there. At the very least, I think he definitely needs to stand trial, and I'm glad after all these years, it looks like he will. So there is that, and another caveat: Vince McMahon allegedly helped. Let me just say this: there were rumors going around for years and years and years and years and years that Vince McMahon allegedly helped Jimmy Snuka talk to the cops by kayfabing the police into making them think that Jimmy Snuka was actually, his real life gimmick, like the wild man, barely speaks any English or anything. And apparently Vince McMahon was with him when he was being questioned by cops. And Vince McMahon allegedly advised him. Now, I'm not saying Vince McMahon helped cover up Jimmy Snuka or Jimmy Snuka's case. I'm not saying that Vince McMahon deliberately helped cover up a murder or anything. But even as something as simple as perhaps turning a blind eye and helping out your guy who happens to be your top star for financial reasons could land Vince McMahon in some hot water. All I gotta say is this: if Vince McMahon Jr. gets subpoenaed for this case, wow. And if Vince McMahon is somehow linked to Jimmy Snuka getting off scot-free back in the day, whether inadvertently or on purpose or whatever, maybe even just guilty by association, maybe I'm reaching here, but wow. You can imagine the ramifications that would have. It's been a long day, kids. And I'm going to explain to you why it's been a long day. But anyway, there's that. There was a shooting at the Performance Center, which was crazy. A deranged fan came in, apparently had an object with him. He was obsessed with a female wrestler, charged at an officer, got shot. He's in the hospital, and he's apparently been on the premises before. He had a restraining order filed against him. He's violated past restraining orders before, and, well, all I can say is I really don't have any sympathy for that guy either, and, yeah. Stay safe, everybody, at the Performance Center, because that was a scary situation. So, is there anything else bad about the wrestling business going on? Oh, yeah, Bram. Thomas Latimer. I don't remember what Kenneth Cameron, I think was his name when he was at the Ascension in NXT. He's Bram in Impact Wrestling. Arrested for false imprisonment and strangulation. I guess the woman who's his current girlfriend. He was Charlotte's husband. I think they're separated or officially divorced. I know. Well, they are separated. I don't know if they're officially divorced yet. And he's currently suspended by TNA. He's been arrested before for DUI. He's been arrested before for assaulting a police officer. He's divorced. Yeah. Here's a guy who I was actually pretty high on, who a lot of people were high on, who revitalized his career in TNA after screwing things up in WWE outside of the ring. And then he gets to this situation. In a world where there's no WCW, where there's no ECW, where TNA may be on its last legs because it is September and we don't know what the hell's going on with Destination America, and it was rumored this would be the month where Destination America puts the nail in the coffin. We live in a world where Global Force Wrestling is doing TV tapings without a TV deal. And we live in the world where ROH has plenty of talent, New Japan has plenty of talent, and no rightful wrestling company that has some semblance of common sense is going to pick this guy up. So he's essentially thrown his career away, and you can make the strong argument he's thrown his life away. You could say innocent until proven guilty or whatever, but in the court of public opinion and based on his rap sheet, at the very least, the dude is an idiot, and it's unfortunate. It's sad. A guy so so talented, throwing his life away, throwing his career away. And he's got nobody to blame but himself. Man, some depressing-ass news, right? Oh, God. Well, before I go, let me just explain to you guys what's been going on. I did mention this, I believe, in the last recap show I did. I think it was the SummerSlam recap. But I'm not going to do as many live shows as I did before. Long story short, here's the deal. In addition to my hosting duties at TSC and everything I do on the back end of things, I work in marketing, and right now my schedule's been really crazy with this current client I'm working for, and it's a great opportunity. It's a rewarding opportunity. I ain't complaining, but it is very tough these days to sit through a 3-hour show and then do a 1-hour, 2-hour recap of it live, taking calls and then processing and editing and doing all that jazz. So what I'm going to do is probably just do more video blogs. I got a bunch of interviews coming up with guys like Roderick Strong and Frankie Kazarian and Hector Guerrero, and I got a number of other interviews booked. So stay tuned for that. And we'll probably limit live shows more so for the weekend. I'm thinking usually during a big UFC, after a big pay-per-view, and if there's any kind of crazy circumstance, God forbid, like the freaking Roddy Piper death, which was tragic as hell, then, maybe I'll do a special live show then. But trying to limit the live shows a little bit. So if you do want your voices to be heard, if you do have any questions, all you got to do really is just go on Facebook.com/SportsCourier. Send me a direct message there. I'll answer any questions you have on the air next time I'm on. You can tweet us at Fred Ricciani at Sports Courier. You can Instagram us at TSC News, or you can just leave a comment below on YouTube and Google+, and we will definitely shout you out, answer any questions, bring up any talking points that you may have on your mind. So I hope you understand. When I said I'm not going to be doing Raw recaps, people immediately thought, oh my God, you stopped covering wrestling. No, I'll still be doing videos. Just I won't be recapping Raw every Monday night because it's just, it's a pain in the ass. Look, if there's breaking news, if there's something gigantic, maybe I'll go on for 5-10 minutes, but right now, my current schedule is really crazy, and it's going to be tough. So I hope you guys understand that. Another thing, video game reviews. I just uploaded, just last week, I uploaded my Madden review. I uploaded a review of Gears of War Ultimate Edition. And I have come to the conclusion that a lot of you guys really like my video game content, and it makes sense to kind of split off from TSC and do a separate channel. So I would really appreciate it if everybody subscribed to Overclocked TV. I believe the URL is youtube.com/overclockedtv. It's a channel that was previously run by our admin Eugene. He still is working on it on the back end of things. But we decided, since it was already kind of technology based and everything, we might as well put our video game reviews on there. We'll still have synergy between the TSC News channel and Overclocked. It's all going to be part of the TSC News Network. We'll still have our video game playlist on TSC. So if you want to still check out our videos, maybe you didn't subscribe to Overclocked, maybe you're wondering where the hell they're at, we'll still keep that playlist up to date on the front page of youtube.com/thesportscourier. I will also make an effort to upload a majority of our video game content in podcast form on soundcloud.com/TSC News. So please keep that all in mind. We got you covered. I mean, I went on a business trip in Dallas that really kind of sent me behind with some content here. I got like 3 or 4 indie game reviews coming up for you guys on Overclocked TSC and on SoundCloud. And this month alone, not only do we have all those indie games that I just mentioned, we got Destiny, The Taken King. I'll probably do a re-review of Destiny because they've changed the leveling system and everything. We got Forza. We got Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5. We got NBA Live. We got NBA 2K16. I mean, my goodness, it's going to be a busy ass month. And actually, you know what? Since I got these right by me, when I was in Dallas, I went to, I think it was Stonebriar Mall, it's called, Stonefry or something like that, whatever. Stone something. It's in Frisco. It's cool. They had a retro game shop. I think it was called CGX. And I was able to purchase some old school retro games for our new feature that will probably be cross-promoted on TSC and Overclocked. Throwbacks. Maybe it's on Throwback Thursday. Maybe it's on Flashback Friday. Maybe it's on Wayback Wednesday. I'll be reviewing and or streaming old school games, and I figured since, we are mostly a wrestling channel, I could stream some wrestling games. So, WCW Nitro on PS1. Let's see what else I got here. Glad I got this nearby. All right. WCW versus NWO World Tour on the N64. My personal favorite, besides No Mercy, which unfortunately I couldn't find in the store, WCW NWO Revenge, which was a precursor to WWE No Mercy, which was a phenomenal video game. This is the last WCW video game, I believe, that was published by THQ. At least the last relevant one. And the last good WCW game, in my opinion. Mayhem wasn't that good. And here we go. WCW NWO Thunder, which I actually owned back in the day and later traded in, but I found this for a few bucks. And so, get excited, kids. I will be reviewing these games over the course of the next, let me get this bag out of the way, over the course of the next, I'd say, 4 to 6 weeks. So we've got plenty of content in store. Plus, I will be reviewing every single Night of Champions pay-per-view that there's ever been. And I'm going to be posting them on SoundCloud and this TSC News YouTube channel. I'm going to have a lot to get to. I got a lot to catch up with. I hope you're patient with me. I hope you stick with me because we really do enjoy your support. And we are glad that you enjoy our content. If you're relatively new to this channel, please subscribe, browse around, check out our interviews playlist. We got interviews with so many freaking wrestlers from the past, the present, and maybe the future of the business. We've got a ton of game reviews, as I said, recap shows, you name it. I will keep you guys posted. The best way to keep up with our schedule, at Sports Courier on Twitter, Facebook.com/The Sports Courier, at TSC News on Instagram, at Fred Ricciani on Twitter and Instagram. So, that's all I have to say. As far as anything else, really, really, really quickly, the SmackDown spoilers, nothing special. Again, Sheamus inexplicably pinned Cesaro, which was ridiculous. And apparently there's a report that Steve Austin and Ric Flair didn't like Triple H beating Sting at WrestleMania. Yeah, I didn't either. Because I have something called common sense. So I hope if Triple H, if he eventually feuds with Seth Rollins, does the right thing and puts the guy over. Nothing against Triple H. Again, I have immense respect for him. He's one of my all-time favorites. But, me, kids. I just call it like I see it. And, yeah, that's about it. Just real quick UFC news. Antonio Big Nog Nogueira has retired. Legendary fighter. If you guys have UFC Fight Pass, go out of your way to watch some of his classic matches in Pride. They are amazing. That's all I got to say. So, with all that being said, tweet us, Facebook us, do what you got to do. If you enjoyed this update, please click the like button. Please share this with all your friends. Please don't forget to subscribe to youtube.com/The Sports Courier, soundcloud.com/TSC News, and youtube.com/Overclock TV. You'll also find the link of our new channel on the front page of our current YouTube channel, The Sports Courier. Until next time, everybody, woo! As always, enjoy the matches.